right behind me, right there, we have the Langelands Fortress, and we are heading in for that. So Long Island Fortress, let's head and see if it's something you should visit. Because it's pretty far out of the way if you're coming with public transport, and even with a car it takes some time to get out here. So is it worth visiting? Let's find out. One of the things you might experience out here is the bunker right down there. It is a bunker devoted to the Danish Special Forces, the first of its kind, the Frogmen. Yeah, little weird name, but they are called the Frogmen and are one of the world's most elite special forces that rivals even the highest up there. So make sure that you go by and visit it, but have Google Translate along, because the one problem they have is most of the signs are in Danish and not in English also. So have Google Translate along, and it will help you greatly to understand what is written on those signs. We have just been into a bunker telling the fascinating side of hearts and minds, how propaganda is part of war and is part of the Cold War, and was a big part of, well, people's understanding of what was going on. And it is definitely worth seeing the bunker. So when you're out here, make sure to visit all the bunkers, because each bunker holds something special. We have now entered the machine bunker. This bunker holds all the machinery, the heavy machinery for the entire facilities. It is here power was produced. It is from this room they produced power to the radars, the guns, the lights, everything. It is also a bunker that is a bit away from the other parts of the bunkers. So that's a way to make sure that you get the supply. There is of course a backup somewhere. But it is definitely worth taking a look in here and seeing how they also have a machine station making all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's a great workshop. Oh, so into the machine gunner's nest. There's only room for one up here. But anyways, my son is trying to get up right down there. But he can't fit. Not because he's too big, but because this area is no bigger than I'm holding the camera in the other end now. So 2 people can be up here. But there's a machine gunner's nest with mostly a view directly to the entrance of the machine bunker. Well, a protective measure? Yes. You're trapped up here and there's only one thing to do, it is to defend yourself. But let's get back down. It's been a while since I've done things like this. But you should not be a big boy trying to get up here. So yeah. The Navy might have had requirements for how big you actually are physically. Back down and out. They actually also got power from outside. This is from Holmgård and from Mølleberg, which are 2 different sites far away from here. So yeah, several backups for having power to make sure that this facility actually runs. But let's see if we can find some more bunkers. If you're out here on lunchtime, well, you have an entire picnic area. So make sure that you bring your lunch along and have this beautiful view right behind me for your picnic. Unfortunately, we are here way too early for picnic, so we're going to explore some more and enjoy the beautiful view from out here. We have now entered the bunker that holds the Cold War exhibit. It is here where they show how the home front was protected, the civil defense units, the material depots, all these kinds of things that were part of the Cold War in Denmark. And it is actually quite interesting, especially if you read the signs. Unfortunately, most of the signs are still in Danish, so have your Google Translate ready and have downloaded the Danish language, so you are sure to, well, have your Google translate, because otherwise it does not function without network, and these bunkers sometimes don't have much in mobile signal. Just a heads up. One of the fun things about this place is a radio station. Because if the bombs were to fall, we could still send radio broadcast out with music, culture, and news, most important. So we have even entered a submarine. It is on land, but the submarine really gives you a look into how cramped these subs were. It's not much room. There's even bunks out there with the torpedoes. There are 4 bunks here. The mess hall with even more bunks. Hot swapping bunks. Well, wait to see the best. This is the entire kitchen. So you think about these Japanese apartment movies you see here on YouTube. Try this. Try living in a submarine with God knows how many men on God knows how little space. It gives you something to think about. But let's get out. There's also a mine destroyer out here somewhere, so let's find it. By the way, imagine needing the bathroom. There you have it. Yeah. Well, don't do number 2. In here, they even got this old home guard minesweeper, so yeah. Let's see if we can do something about the angle. Much better. Now you can see the entire ship in all its beauty. It's an old wooden construction, but it was an early minesweeper from the Danish National Guard or Home Guard, or how else you will translate it, but it's actually a beautiful ship. I want one of those. And they even gone through the details of adding in water down there, so yeah, you'll get something out of this. And with the submarine and the minesweeper, you get a great look into the Cold War, which all this is devoted to. I don't know who slept down here, but there are 2 bunks, 2 chairs, and even a sink. And we're back to those Japanese apartments I told you about. This is your living quarters. It's small, it's cramped, and it has to be closed at sea, so it would not be used at sea. The hatch says closed at sea. But I think they would have used it at sea. Oh, I found this sign that says what this is. It's the captain's quarters. It was actually designed for the chief and the second in command. So yeah, 2 people. Or in very cramped quarters. So let's get back up. As you see, you're below deck. I wonder where they put the rest of the crew. Well, oh, there's more. I think we found it. We found the control room. The bridge. Yeah. Steering house, maybe? It's a bit cramped getting down here, but we can manage. Oh, toilet. Yeah, it's getting a bit cramped down here, and too many people get down here. They need to have someone controlling how many people we get down here. Well, we found the crew quarters. Talk about cramped quarters. You have to play nice with your fellow crewmates. There's also a bit of a little kitchen, and we will find that. Woo. Another little cramped room right there. And if we find the, what's it called? In Danish, it's a caboose. but I don't know what the kitchen is called on the ship in English, but it is fairly good. And well, pretty good stove. Something you will find in normal hardware store. I could make some great dinners in there. Back up. They really crammed in on these small minesweepers, so yeah. But let's see what else there's out here. If you follow the route that is, well, advised by the museum down here, one of the last things you will see is this, the MiG-23. It is not the last thing, but it is one of the last things, and it is, well, you can see how old an airplane that is and how well maintained it is for a prestige appearance. If it's flyworthy, I don't know. It still has Russian writing on it. It actually gives you a great sense of how big these fighter jets actually are, because they look, every time I see them in movies, they either look very small or very big. This one, standing next to it, feels big, but the cockpit, I would get claustrophobia sitting there. If I could fit in there. I'm 185, so if you know anything about the MiG-23, write down in the comments, could I fit in there being 185 centimeters? And we have entered the last part of this big museum. And yes, the Langelands Fortress is a museum. And it's about the Berlin Wall and all the controversies, all the things that it affected here in Denmark. Because the Berlin Wall actually had a profound impact in Denmark. But to know what that is, you have to visit this museum. And you know, I'm not sponsored, I just don't want to take the joy away from you. I will just give you the recommendation in one moment, so remember to stay along and let's see if I recommend you visit this museum. But by now, you will already have an idea if it's something for you. Oh, I have sit in one of those at some point. I actually think it's the same model I have been driving around in. So yeah. It's funny how some of the things back from Cold War also was active when I was in the Danish Armed Forces. Just a little thing to think about. So do I recommend that you visit the Langelands Fortress? Well, I will say if you're interested in war history, if you're interested in the Cold War, if you're interested in war materials, or if you're just a history buff, it is a warm recommendation that you visit it. If you have kids along, they will also enjoy it, because this museum is made for the entire family, with some kids things that can entertain them, with some adult things that can entertain the entire family. And yeah, that makes it the perfect place on your summer vacation if you want something different to look at. So I will warmly recommend that you take a visit past the Langelands Fortress. And by the way, just for full transparency, I'm not sponsored by the Langelands Fortress. I have not even been invited down here. So I have recorded all this, well, on my own accord. So yeah, it is an honest review.